2022 was kind of a good year. I've performed in so many amazing venues. I performed with amazing artists. I performed with amazing people. That's really the musician's dream, to perform with people you like and admire and who are better than you. You want to perform great music at amazing venues and also get paid in the process. Of course, as professional musicians, finances can also be kind of a stressful thing and can be a stressful topic, especially in our career field, especially for the freelancers who are working primarily in their local markets. But I would say this year was a pretty good year. I have so much to be grateful for. And what I want to talk about in this video is not so much a violin tutorial or a product review. It's more so a kind of a year in review kind of video and what to look forward next on the channel and some of my goals for next year. The biggest thing for me in this channel and in this year was to become a better teacher. And for me, it's regards to helping my students out in the best way I can. Now I have this knowledge of different shoulder rests and products by doing all these product reviews. So when I have a student come in and they have a certain specific problem, now I'm able to recommend, oh, this shoulder rest is not working for you. Let's try something else. Let's maybe try a different chin rest. And I know I haven't talked a lot about chin rests on this channel, which that's going to be my goal for 2023 to have included in the product reviews section, but we'll get to that in a moment. But for me, becoming a better teacher was most important, because if you become a better teacher, then you're able to grow your studio. You're able to teach a wide variety of ages. Like I think this year, I had a new position at a different local music school, and I started out with 1 day with only 4 students, and now that's grown to 2 days, and those studios are fully booked. It's a blessing for me to teach all these students. And now it's come to a point where I'm so booked with my teaching that I'm not going to be accepting as many performances this upcoming year. If the scheduling works out and it works around my teaching schedule, then by all means, I'm going to do those performances. But I've come to a point now where I really do believe that teaching is my primary calling. At least it's my calling for right now. I really truly believe that I have so much to learn. I feel like my purpose is to teach to the best of my ability for students to succeed and play their absolute best. That's my goal for every teacher out there, for you to really be engaged with the process of your students. What we're so lucky as teachers in the violin profession, that a lot of the time we're one-on-one with students. While most music teachers in classroom settings, they don't have that one-on-one rapport. So it's really great for me because I'm a natural introvert. And for me, I can really dive into the specifics and really connect with each family and each student. So yeah, I feel like I've accomplished my goal in becoming a better teacher. And of course, that's part of the goal every year. When you grow, you want to make sure you're continuing to grow, you're continuing to do your research. And part of my research for teaching is actually being the host and creator of the Violin podcast. And if this is something that you didn't know about me, well, I want to introduce the Violin podcast to you. It's a podcast where I talk to violinists from around the world, and I discuss violin topics such as career advice, different practice tips, and anything else that's going on in the violin world. And this is a great segue into my goals into 2023, because I actually want to grow the Violin Podcast YouTube channel. And it would mean the world to me if you could actually go ahead, click on the description below, click on the Violin Podcast YouTube page, and subscribe to the Violin Podcast. And it has so many great, valuable tips that I cannot do in one single video, but I do them in the interview format. And my goal this year is to create more content for the Violin podcast. So I'll be doing double duty. I'll be doing a lot of violin tutorials on this channel, but I'm also going to be pursuing and continuing to grow the Violin podcast. And my goal is to be more active on the Violin podcast YouTube channel and other platforms. Because to be honest, I've been kind of slacking off on the Violin podcast. And if you ever run a podcast by yourself, it's really hard because you're trying to get interviews with people and everybody's performing. And for me to be able to email and wait for responses back from managers, from PR firms and public relations people, it takes a while. And I want to be more proactive on this. I'm actually going to keep myself accountable this year for the Violin podcast in 2023. I want to really grow so that way I can provide a lot of value. And you can listen to the Violin podcast by going to violinpodcast.com. We have a brand new spanking website, and it's a great, this is something that I worked on myself, and it's a great resource for anyone who is wanting to just listen to violin interviews when you're in the car. And they're a good length. They're about like 45 minutes to an hour. And you have all sorts of different interviews with violinists from around the world. Recently I had the Indianapolis competition winner, which is quadrannual violin competition started by Joseph Gingold. And the winner, Serena Huang, was kind enough to talk to me on the Violin podcast. And oh my gosh, it is such good content. It's amazing content because a lot of the things that I talk about on this channel, she actually reiterates, but maybe the language could be different and might really impact your learning as a violinist. So the Violin podcast is for any age. It's for people who are in, the beginning stages of their violin career, or violin journey, or it's a beginner, intermediate violinist, advanced, or even for the professional person who is trying to grow their career. This is a great podcast to be listening to. So make sure you subscribe to the Violin Podcast on YouTube, but also make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Audible, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your music or your podcast. Oh, I had a little ding. Sorry about that. I'm gonna mute that. But anyways, if you are a fan of podcasts and you're in a car a lot, if you're driving to work, give the podcast a subscription. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification so that way you get notified for when new episodes come out. Part of my next goal for 2023 is just to create more content on YouTube, and not just any content, because I feel like I have a lot of great beginner videos for anyone who wants to take a look at that, but I want to dive into the more sophisticated stuff. I want to dive into more etudes. I want to dive into more like technical aspects for someone who is an intermediate to an advanced or even professional violin level. And that's going to be my focus for this channel this year, the Eric Ngala Violin channel, particularly this one. Because for me, it's a great way for me to keep myself accountable, to create content for you. And also it's a great way for me to practice and also share my thoughts and my advice on all things violin technique. But most importantly, I want to take a moment to thank you, the fans of this channel, because without you, this channel just would not exist. And I want to thank you. You guys are my fans. You guys are my super fans, the ones who comment on every video, the ones who, stay engaged with the conversation. I respond to every single comment as best as I can. And I want to create this community so that way we could all, have fun and learn violin together and to learn and explore different topics. But if you're watching for the first time, you're getting to know this channel, this violin community, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, hit the bell notification so that way you get notified for when new videos come out, because it really helps me out to create more great violin content for you. But if you don't check YouTube frequently, if you're not like an active YouTube user, then I encourage you to subscribe to my mailing list. It's a free mailing list, and you can use the link down in the description below. And every week I don't spam violinists, it's not like a everyday kind of newsletter. I occasionally pump out a mailing newsletter maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, just so that you can be updated on what's new on the channel, what's new with the Violin podcast episodes, and more. So yeah, those are my goals for 2023 and a year in review for 2022. Now that I'm looking back on it, I performed at some really cool venues like Carnegie Hall. I made a video about the Carnegie Hall gig that I did back in April. I'll leave a link up here for you to take a look at. That was a really fun experience, talking about how I got to Carnegie Hall. And yeah, that was a really fun one. But also I got to perform with, Grammy Award winning singer, Indian Bollywood artist, Vijay Prakash. That was really awesome. And then, there's just a lot of great things to be grateful for in my personal life. So thank you everyone for a really amazing year. And I'm going to take a break between now and the new year. So you're not going to expect a lot of content from me, but I will see you guys in the new year. Take care, guys.